they've been doing the worst landlord special in my building anyway, where they're like putting that gray. They're doing that very gray. It's a new landlord special thing, actually. The gray paint, but then the gray linoleum.
Yeah, that gray wood grain. It's called barnwood.
I hate that so much. I hate farmhouse industrial.
Same.
So much.
It's like you've mixed up.
It's manufactured rustic.
It's like you took the beigiest version of both worlds and brought them together.
It's the poor aspect. It's the worst aspects.
The most
of both.
Yeah, the most dull and unoffensive bland. No.
You know, some things are cool to see, like sleek and shiny and whatever, more masculine focus. And then some things look great when they're distressed. But then when you try to make things look brand new and distressed at the same time, it's like
totally confused. Hey, Chelsea.
Oh, hey, Victoria.
You know what you need?
Why?
Breath of Fresh Movie.
Oh my God, me too.
Woo.
That's a movie I like to see.
This is Breath of Fresh Movie, a weekly podcast where me, Victoria Harley,
And me, Chelsea Pope.
we watch a movie neither one of us has ever seen before, and then we talk about it.
And we may not talk about everything, but we'll talk about anything. So spoilers ahoy, ding ding.
Mm-hmm. Have you been listening back to the episodes? I've been adding ding dings.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah. I'm hurt that you didn't.
No, I'm like, well, what do you ask? What? I have listened.
No, I know. I
have listened.
I'm just
but
roasting
no,
it.
but it's
Lightly.
you know, it's like, wait, what do you?
like a marshmallow.
You know, when someone says I'm sorry, and you're like, well, what are you sorry for? Maybe they should be sorry for something, but then they're sorry for something they shouldn't be sorry for.
I see. I get, yes.
No, but what for? You know,
what for?
what's that?
That's the British in me.
I don't want to make it. It's that trope in TV shows and movies. There's like, I really need to tell you something, and then the other character says, "Don't worry, I already know." And then it's about some other thing, and then the person's like, "Oh, that was not the thing I was gonna."
What were you gonna talk about?
Yeah,
it's a classic,
that trope,
classic comedy or dramatic, depending on how you're applying it. Yeah, this is a show. So spoilers ahoy.
Ding ding.
That's what we were talking about.
Ding ding.
And sometimes we'll spoil other things other than the movie we're talking about.
Oh yeah,
there's really no way to defend against that, and I'm sorry.
I'm
not sorry. I'm not sorry.
But
actually.
it happens.
It happens.
And other people do it.
Yeah.
And we're only human.
We're only human. Today's film is the 1997 Southern Gothic drama EVE'S BAYOU, directed and written by Kasi Lemmons.
Yep.
The logline here. Over the course of one summer in Louisiana, in 1962, by the way, 10-year-old Eve Batiste discovers her father, a successful doctor, is also a philandering presence in the community.
A philandering presence is such a interesting way of putting it. I wonder how long it took for them when they're writing the log line.
I mean,
to come up with that way of like phrasing how he acts.
Yeah,
because it's not inaccurate. It's accurate, but there's a certain.
Yeah, I know that's
what's the flair?
Philandering is such a like.
He does some very specific things, but it's also like, we don't want to give too much away. Philandering presence as opposed to, he's a dog. He's a predator.
Right.
He's a groomer.
Right. Yeah.
You know, well, I guess that terminology. I don't know. You don't want, because I guess that is the best way of putting it without giving it away necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, well, we're at Checkpoint Chelsea at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like, I don't know.
I think it's okay if you end up liking this movie, it's not I don't think I think it's okay not going in blind.
It's not like a heist movie or a thriller that won't benefit from a second viewing or something.
Yeah, spoiler alerts aside, I think the strengths of the movie are not as much about the ambiguity of the story, although it does seem to be very focused on this idea of like memory and what is a reliable narrator and whatnot. But also I do think that like there are more, I don't know, there are maybe more granular things about the movie that are I personally think more valuable than the story itself.
I completely agree.
That I think this makes this very rewatchable for.
Yeah, I think like I was almost more interested in the aunt with the whole Black Widow story.
Yeah.
And her clairvoyance.
It's honestly quite dense when you start thinking about things
there's
like that.
There's
Louisiana, that by the whole mythos, or whatever the word I'm supposed to be using here to sound intelligent.
We're talking
about the lore of the land and the family history. And it has a little bit of, it was a little reminiscent of like Water for Chocolate.
Yeah.
In that way, where they're talking about generational superstitions and trauma. And there's magical realism involved. Or there's ambiguity about that too, right? But it's
magical realism. I like, that's interesting.
If you enjoyed it enough and engaged with it, like, I think you should definitely watch it more than once just to
agree.
Because I personally, I don't know. I'm also not the smartest person in the world, but I just needed to be like, wait, what happened with the witch doctor again? I tried to ride it through the first time, and then the second time I was trying to better lock down what actually happened, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much unanswered.
I mean that in a good way.
I mean, there's things that are really strong about this movie, and there's elements. I mean, it is a mood and a vibe, and also this is about a family, a wealthy, prominent family. Kasi Lemmons said she wanted to write a story about, like one of those families that's kind of like the celebrity in their own small town.
That absolutely. Again, the town history too. There's the family
EVE'S
history,
BAYOU.
the town history, the relation to like American history and geography. His and her story, with an X or whatever. You get it.
Well, the first time I watched it, I'm like, oh, wow, what a strong opening. Like, I was 10 the summer I killed my father.
Yeah,
but then I went
great
back.
Line.
It's great. It's really good. It's like, ooh, shit.
But it's that tent, like right at the start.
We're like, someone's going to die. And we know who's going to die.
It has that, well, like with White Lotus, when like you got a corpse that washes up on the shore and you're like.
Exactly like
wow,
White Lotus.
What? Well, except you already know who it is. You get it.
Yeah.
You get it.
No, but when I went back and watched it the second time, I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, it's a little.
You didn't kill him.
I think
Mr. Moreau killed him.
What comes off as like, what's the personal responsibility or
I mean,
accountability?
She did set that in motion. Like, forget the witch doctor stuff. Like, she set that guy. She made that dude realize he was being cucked. Like,
right. But at the same time, though, there's what specifically puts her at fault?
Yeah.
By that turn of events, just because there was whatever intention.
Right. He's a grown man. He doesn't have to lose his shit.
You may wish ill on someone, and then something bad happens to that person you wished ill on the next day. But that doesn't mean you caused it just because you. I don't know. See, that there's also that element of or what you share with somebody that doesn't. Yeah. You didn't tell them to do whatever their next action was. You just gave them a piece of information they processed,
or some hair.
A little memento.
I just want to mention that the witch doctor was played by Diane Carroll, who very like pioneering Black actress.
I mean, it was very strongly performed. I mean, this is a really quality movie.
Oh my God, yeah.
In a number of ways. Like my first thought while watching it was like, why haven't I heard more about this movie up to this point?
Yeah, and although
why hasn't this been acknowledged more in some way?
And although everything is intertwined, it somehow also feels like an anthology of stories because everybody's kind of got their own drama going on.
It's a very meaty, melodramatic period family drama.
The period aspect of it is really lovely.
Well, like
the dresses. I'm sorry.
It feels like grand Americana. Like I took a few American literature based classes, and a lot of that is about family and roots and your relationship to your own creation of your history and relation to it. And I feel like this movie really encompasses that. It's surprising that it doesn't come up more.
Yeah, I know. And there's certain movies that have been set in the South, like Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, and the image of Spanish moss hanging, the bayou, the steaminess, the swampiness. Like, it's all kind of, it's a mood, and it's like Tennessee Williams like explored that kind of thing. Like, there's something really...
It's like hyper specific. But I mean, if everything's... I say that because it's like, well, especially now, everything's so homogenized.
Yeah, this is really nice. It's like a specific.
The whole world's becoming a monoculture, and it's
this absorbs you in a completely different world, and I think it's cool for that reason. And I mean, written and directed by a Black woman, which, you know, and it was the highest grossing independent film of 1997. So it did really well. So it is kind of confusing that it's like, I mean, I think the people who know, you know, I think we're coming
Well,
to...
I say that. I think if anything, this is probably just me
I didn't
showing
know.
how ignorant I was. Well,
No,
so
I didn't. We chose this
I
for
don't know.
a
It
reason.
just
You know,
there's blind spots
Yeah.
for all kinds of casual or more
And some people-
committed cinephiles.
And clearly, and we'll talk about the reviews, but I mean, some people really love this movie.
Really though,
Really
and, you know,
love it.
especially looking up. I mean, I'm on YouTube a lot, and just like there's a lot of people who have a lot to say about this movie. That
Yeah.
had a strong connection.
It's described as a Southern Gothic or sometimes like a Gothic horror in that realm, and I guess
I love Gothic. Whenever
too.
we're referencing a genre, it's just something very like
anytime you add Gothic, I'm in.
yeah, it's like moody.
I'm done. Yeah,
I smell the whetstone.
Yeah, I can hear the rain dripping on the leaves. There's like a statue covered in ivy that is spooky.
There's like a dagger covered in blood, but a rose next to it.
Yes, I love it. I felt for Eve immediately because everyone seemed to prefer anybody else over her. She had middle child syndrome.
Yeah, she's a classic Helga Pataki. That's what I watch when I don't watch movies. Is
Okay.
Hey Arnold. So.
Gotcha.
No, just
I've admitted I know
unacknowledged
nothing
child.
about Hey Arnold. So
Well, then
we've established this.
It's a good thing this isn't a Hey Arnold podcast.
That's really
I'd have to
good.
kick you out.
Well, you would be the expert, and I'd be like, "What?"
I've never been called an expert at anything, so I don't know. I can't fathom that level of power. But
Okay.
that was all. Eve is she's not getting enough appreciation
Yeah.
or attention or
Doesn't like it. Like from the beginning,
affection.
she is
Yeah.
ousted or feeling less than. Also, I think like the opening, like, okay, so the character Maddie Moreau, who turns out to be really important. It's like, man, we basically open on like her ass. Like, we don't open the movie on there, but like we're
Sure.
introduced to her body, like as a
Yeah.
first.
It's all everything feels very intentional. And,
Yeah.
you know,
But she seems.
it feels like that I say that it's like I feel
Yeah.
like that's an intentional
and even like the old grandmother, like, you know,
reaction.
is like, if
Yeah.
this woman doesn't get her ass
Yeah.
out of my face, you know.
I think that's the reaction.
But it's
that's
really,
intended.
but it's just like the two dances, the one with her husband and the one that she does with the doctor, are both pretty steamy and just like, Jesus, like there is some lustiness like right out the gate here.
I wonder if there's something to be said about, you know, themes of like sexual independence or or sexual expression.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, what your performative relationships are
Yeah.
in a community.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
That was really.
And I mean, I'll fully admit,
Seat of
like,
my
I mean, I
pants.
grew up in like an Irish Catholic household, like not the most physically affectionate.
Yeah.
So like, I know I'm a bit repressed. Like, I hate to
Yeah.
admit it, but it's like, no, I am.
No, but
Like,
there's, you know, we have these certain.
I
we have
don't
this
want to
certain
be.
circles where whatever.
Like,
You know, I get it.
I want to be like free, but I
I
can't.
feel like a lot of people feel that way.
Right?
I think that if anything, that serves to
Yeah.
like this character where
Thank you.
Bring
Bring it back.
but it really does though. I think serve the point of why she's framed the way she is.
Yes.
Or depicted the way that she is.
Yeah.
And I think almost there's sort of a positive value to be interpreted by like transparency
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
bodaciousness. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying not to say like too much.
It's okay.
So
It's
right.
hard. It's so
hard.
But there was a moment. There was a moment that really made me laugh. When I can't remember what she asks him, but Eve asks her dad something, and he basically like is like, open your mouth, and he was like, no, nothing in there to make you say something so stupid.
That was great. Oh, that's a good one. I'm glad you mentioned it. There's some real
some lines,
sass
like,
and
oh, like, you know, like
everyone's so veiled and protected. So that's where a lot of the sass is coming from.
And I know it's wrong to laugh, but I did laugh when Cicely comes home, and she's come home from the beauty parlor, and she wasn't supposed to go anywhere, and she's like, I didn't get hit by nothing. And then like her mother just hits her across the face.
That was great. I'm sorry. I mean, that's
it's
domestic violence, child abuse,
but
you get it.
But the
comedic
value,
the dark comedy,
of I'm a monster.
No, I have to imagine that again, that was intentional.
Well, and
I just feel like there's no way. I think that the melodrama was well factored,
yes,
and intended, and I think that there's a broadness and earnestness that I think it serves.
I completely agree. No, totally.
It's smart.
There was a really nihilistic speech that aunt gave. I mean, that aunt is interesting, first of all, who's like, all her husbands die. And she's also like kind of witchy and clairvoyant. But she serves the community in that way, that she gives people relief.
She's a powerful character.
I
almost would have rather been following her
it really
a lot of the time.
Felt like almost she was fighting for
for focus.
For focus.
She was stealing focus. I don't think she was even necessarily fighting.
She's not
it's just
fighting.
When she was
the
there,
she
was pulling. Well, she's a more interesting character.
She really was.
It's that
dude who showed up at the end though. That wig was goofy.
I love that. I think there's so much.
I love that story. But
there
that
are some
wig
very
was a little
silly
goofy.
things, but that's why when I say this, I mean this in the nicest way. This felt like a very well-made Lifetime movie.
Yeah,
there are scenes of high emotion and drama, and with the dial, but then also dialogue, but then certain disconnects with the visuals, like the wig you just met. Someone said I didn't get him, and then she gets slapped. I'm sorry that I laughed.
Yeah,
too.
no, I did.
So
I
things
did.
like that are unintentionally a little dissonant, and
the mother is like putting up with and so
or maybe intentionally.
And then there's I feel like we're dancing around the incest thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a big thing.
It's a big thing.
It's kind of the thing.
It's the question. And is it more horrifying for him to have done what he did, which of course is horrible, or for her to have been do we buy this idea that his daughter was trying to keep him in the family and was you know what I mean?
Is that she was
and was confused and felt like that would do it?
Well, was she fully just kind of just a victim of the situation? She's just I don't know, I don't know. I don't want to split hairs in terms of any accountability on her end, obviously. But I understand. I understand what you're asking. I think it's important to clarify. It's not that we're analyzing the culpability of Cicely of the daughter herself.
Yeah,
it's obviously this dad is nasty and horrible and sucks.
Yeah. But maybe he doesn't suck that much.
But it's how
where's the line for him
in terms of what was. Yeah. What. Well, how did they navigate the situation?
Yeah.
Where it seems like everybody knows but isn't talking about it, or it's a lot of this isn't actually happening and we just have a very unreliable narrator, and it's not that bad. How normalized is this kind of incestuous relation? The daughter is being groomed by her father more or less, and
the scene at the beginning after he dances with the village bicycle, he then dances with.
I hate that term so
much. I'm sorry.
Much. No, it's not. That's not you. But it's just. I don't know why. I always when a promiscuous woman is referred to as bicycle. I don't know what's weird.
No, it's wrong.
I'm pretty loosey goosey about how I refer to all sorts of things, but the bicycle one in particular is
yeah.
But that I think it also is the fact that there is this gossip culture as well in that community about things like a village bicycle, whatever. There's
you feel the community.
That is why there's a level of this the performative, modesty or performative elevate. And he outside of his philandering. Yes, that was the term I was about to ask you again. What would say the thing? But he's a respected member of the community. Mm-hmm. He's an established intellectual. Which
makes him dangerous, quite honestly.
Well, it's hard to navigate that because you don't want to discount. This is also it's the early '60s.
Yeah,
they're in the South.
It's significant for him to be a black doctor. And
the last thing, and I think this is in any community that feels that they've been put upon, and then there's someone who does a lot to elevate the community in some way, or they set a good example, they're exemplary in some way, and then something bad is found out, and then there's always inevitably this pushback of don't tear down the value of what they've done or who they are, or you know, we're just undercutting them because we can't let somebody succeed. Like there's all these layers of controversy there's a lot of emotion
and like layers of permissible behavior, you know,
things that you'll let but they, you know, they've done so much good for the community, for our legacy.
Yeah, that stuff is difficult. I mean, it's fun. It's interesting when somebody, I feel like there's a lot of that happening, right? Where people are having to reckon with like, oh, this person did this, but they also did these awful things. And like, I don't,
and you know, that also bleeds into, there's an overlap in the Venn diagram of talking about like art versus artist kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and the individual from,
I think like ultimately like a person's behavior is what you have to look at, like, you know, but it is, I think it's not so much an either or, it's people are very complex and capable of a lot of different shit. It's not necessarily excusable to hurt somebody and be like there. It's not that like there's
dimensionality to people.
Yeah, it's a false dichotomy, you know. And I think it forces us into this awful place where like there are things you're absolutely if you don't want to, if you like cannot take a Roman Polanski movie, I will never force you to watch it. You should never have to watch it.
I fully understand that.
I get that, but I will always love Chinatown. I love that movie so much.
So you know, there's I think you have a healthy perspective of like appreciating the value of a work or accomplishment or what have you, and then acknowledging the
it's not only his film. I mean, you know,
acknowledging what somebody and the individual's shortcomings, not just shortcomings. I mean, pedophilia is a lot more than shortcoming, but you get what I mean. I think going back to like the character we're talking about from Eve's Bayou, the father, you know, that he well, here's the thing,
Louis
too.
Baptiste.
He's you know, he's an exemplar in the community for and honestly just of that time, and you know, in that culture, just for like Black progress, let's say.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
right?
absolutely.
But then simultaneously, the way the logline calls him this philanderer, basically he's sleeping with his own daughter and trying to make her into the new matriarch or whatever. Yeah. And the mom even the mom seems to be aware, but she's turning blind. She's getting mad at Eve for stirring trouble. There's a lot of pushback there's a lot of power struggle between her and Cicely, the older daughter, and I don't want to say that like the mom was passive. Not to jump ahead. She's my favorite supporting character.
Okay, right on.
I really liked her, but
yeah, she was excellent.
There's something about the reserved nature of her.
Yeah, Lynn Whitfield as Roz.
Sometimes, especially in a movie like this, where you're watching predominantly younger actors, there's a lot of scenes are just the sisters.
Yeah, it's very much in the children's world.
So less there's a lot of violence or aggression or music, you know, so less is more. I think, you know, that's why I thought the mom stood out quite a bit. She had a certain, I think she did a great job conveying the pressure of the performance of having a functional family. Yes. Because, you know, however much it might benefit in and other ways to acknowledge or address this horrible situation. There's all this, and in the time that they're in, you know, it's just it's context is everything. Oh yeah, for how they're processing. The mother even this really messed up situation.
Yeah, the mother even explains like he's out working so that we can live in a house that has 4 bathrooms.
Absolutely,
like, you know, she understands exactly like what the. But that said, she has a limit, you know, and a line, and it does seem to be a bit of a surprise to find this out, you know.
I mean, she's not in on it. It's more of a denial /
denial.
She's turned a blind eye to his other behavior. He's an adulterer, you know, or he's a known adulterer. But then everybody's like, oh, but he can do that. He's
the good guy.
He's the hero. You know, he's the town hero.
Fuck my wife.
You know what's funny though too is like Samuel L. Jackson's playing him, and he has this. I think I've already seen too many other movies with him where he tends to have either this very. He's either nefarious or unabashedly direct and violent or snarky or a little whatever. There's something, you know, whatever. No bullshit. Yeah. Like get these snakes off the plane.
Is that a big Kahuna burger?
You know, Kahuna. You know, he plays with his prey. a lot. That's what it is. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Is he plays with his prey a lot. And sometimes the prey is literally just the audience in terms he really kind of like he likes to milk a scene and he's an aggressor who knows he's an aggressor. But in this film, he's playing a different the identity of the character he's playing is different. Yeah. However, I'm going into it with all of this. Yeah. If you can separate, for me, I think what I'm trying to say is that if you can separate some of the things, a lot of, like, basically his full film career since that point of EVE'S BAYOU, maybe, and a little before, because Pulp Fiction came out before.
Yeah. And I mean, it's worth noting, he was one of the producers of this film. Like, he really believed in the project. He was excited to play this kind of a character because he wasn't given roles like this.
It's against type. That's all I really should have just said from the top. Okay. All my mind wandering rambling is just okay. He is playing against type. So don't just assume.
It was a delight to watch him.
He's doing bad things, but he's supposed to be a good guy.
He's got the twinkle in his eye. Like, he plays it really well.
It's an interesting character.
I think it was a real delight to watch him dance because there were some real, like, free moments where he's like, his facial expressions are also part of his movements.
You can see why I have an understanding of how people connect with him.
Oh yeah.
And, when Eve's asking him, about, does he love Mama or whatever, he's like, oh, she's the most beautiful one, but he doesn't just say yes or no, but he says it in a crafty way, but it's also it's deflection, but it's simultaneously very well said. Yeah. There's an earnest, whether or not it's actually earnest. I think I say earnest too much lately, but what I mean is there's he knows how to illustrate.
Yes.
He's a good talker.
He is a good talker.
Yeah.
But he ultimately doesn't have a ton of screen time. Like you were saying, this really does focus on the girls.
And what I will say to that is that they both do a great job, both actresses.
Yeah,
it is deliberately, I think, broad melodramatic stuff, though. Like, particularly when Cicely's talking about, Daddy was like, she's recollecting him embracing her, and then Eve is listening. Please, I wasn't. Do you believe me now? It's. I don't know. I don't think if you would come down on the quality of the acting there, you'd have to come down on, like, Stand By Me or any of the other actors that are they're doing the assignment. Yeah, I'll definitely say that.
Yeah, I feel like even when
everyone does a great job.
Even, like, I'm sure there are actors who started when they were children and they might look back on things and cringe a bit, like, why didn't somebody tell me to reel it in?
Maybe all the actors in Harry Potter. You see an arc of improvement over the years.
Well, I think Anne Hathaway said that about herself in The Princess Diaries. She was like, I'm overdoing it so much.
She's just incredible.
She's lovely.
We shouldn't judge. No, she shouldn't judge herself so harsh.
But I thought
I get what you mean. Kate Winslet won't watch Titanic because she feels like her acting was too uneven.
Right, and she the reflection on that, I find
something like that
really interesting. You know what I mean? Like, that there is room for growth, and, like, I don't think it's, like, just false modesty when people bring that stuff up.
I think it's worth acknowledging, and also too, I think there's I don't know, there's a lot to be said about a director or the people behind the production of this movie.
Oh, the editor too.
Yeah, everyone who's they're patient and they're giving the credit to the kids.
Kids tend to be pretty believable because I think kids are always kind of acting. Like, like, they're always imitating somebody.
Everything's very like
not always, but you know what I'm saying.
You can tell the difference between, like, a bad young actor and a good one.
That's true.
And I think there's a lot of trust given to these actors, specifically the two younger actresses. And I think they both understood the gravity of the material they were working with. Because that's the thing. What I'm really trying to say is that they're dealing with some very dark subject matter. They weren't just, like, left home alone or it's just
it's worth mentioning that Megan Good, who plays Cicely, initially was going to be Eve, but she kind of aged out of it. So Journey Smollett plays Eve, and she is her brother Jussie Smollett, known for acting.
Well, I was just thinking of Journey she's in Birds of Prey.
She's in Birds of Prey. She's also in Lovecraft Country.
Right.
So no, she's really. It's. for some people, I'm sure they would watch this and be like, "Oh my God, look at her! Like she's just a little baby.
She's so young.
She's so."
Yeah, I think she's known. She's known.
Oh, definitely.
You know?
No, she's in the business. She's very in the
yeah,
business. Her whole family. She comes from like a family of actors. Like everybody's in it.
Yeah, she's doing good.
Yeah.
She could have had more scenes in Birds of Prey. I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
That was a movie that had a lot of interesting little pieces, but anyway.
One detail I just wanted to mention, and then we can move on, is that she brings $20. Eve brings $20 to the witch doctor, Elzora.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I did.
Now,
I went and calculated it, and with inflation, this is about $189.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of money.
I wouldn't need. I don't need any answers that badly. Even now, like with I wouldn't pay that to.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone to a tarot reader. I don't think I've ever paid more than like 40 though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
It's like I know it's pseudoscience basically, but I want to believe. I want to believe.
Oh man. Okay. So
anyway, continue.
No. I mean, any other
$189 for the witch doctor.
That's a high price. This whole movie started when Kasi Lemmons started writing a script. She really wanted to like do this initially as a set of stories, but it came out, as a screenplay. She's like, okay. She drafted it in 1993. It doesn't come out till 1997. So this was something she'd been kicking around for a while. She said as I mentioned earlier, she wanted to write a story about people who were like royalty in a small town.
I like that.
I know, right?
I thought it was cool. And it also had it in that sense, there's like a vague
Shakespearean or something.
I was thinking of Age of Innocence a little bit. There's a vague sort of Gilded Age, like people whispering behind their opera glove, kind of like, oh, she's the town hussy, or oh, he's been sleeping, he's been going out at night with this lady, or
there was a shocking amount of satin.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a little bit. I'm forcing the connection a little bit, but there's that in terms of people talking and the whole royalty in this very niche.
Yeah, this little community
group.
Yeah, and it feels sort of like a lovely. I mean, they sort of create the myth of the place or the origin of the place. Why is it called EVE'S Bayou? Right, that this general had freed this woman, and then they basically got married, and she bore him a bunch of children, and so it kind of creates almost this like. The situation where these people can be the wealthy, prominent folk in a town of people who are generally well off.
Right.
And them being black is not a problem, like, because I feel like some people would.
But no, there's importance related to that.
Right.
In terms of
showing this experience.
Absolutely.
Like showing.
If anything, the performance of their station and position is there's even more added pressure of that. It's the.
Yeah.
It's I don't remember what the term is, but the idea being of like a model minority or something like that. That pressure that whether it's in actual real life like academia, I'm thinking like college admissions when I was going through that, or even in like in the way characters are written in the media.
Oh, absolutely.
I like that this is something that's sort of dissecting the moral dilemma of that.
Yes.
Whereas in a lot of other in a lot of other movies and stories, whatever, that these you see a minority character is just supposed to be this model citizen, it's like, oh, like you only strong female protagonists, right? No flaws, no shortcomings,
it feels like another form of tokenism.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that elevates Eve's Bayou.
Oh yeah,
it's in quality in my eyes is just that it's a story that has nuance that isn't. There is importance and acknowledgement that is significant to the story related to blackness and to their culture, to the time period, the 60s, their locale, and but it's more nuanced.
Yes, exactly. It allows for that. But, I should say that Louisiana, where this is set, does have a strong history of having like free Black people, like slaves.
It's great to showcase that.
Like slaves in Louisiana were able to purchase their own freedom, and so people did. So and it's not to say that Louisiana is somehow like way better or anything like that. Slavery is, obviously horrible.
No, but that kind of stuff is fascinating. There's a lot of our country's history that we just. Mm-hmm. We're never really properly educated on that unless we pursue it unless we seek it out or it's in some way embedded into our education of some other
and I just bring it up
subject.
because it's a detail that the director felt was important, and also it means this isn't a fantasy. This this is real. Like this is plausible.
It feels very. I think the magic it just comes in when you're dealing with the witch doctor stuff, which is also very culturally honoring.
Yeah, but even
I don't know.
The way the little girl doesn't understand. Like voodoo is clearly just something you sell people for peace of mind. Like,
but we're also getting to see. There's so many layers. Like we're seeing it through.
Layers.
It's a young girl's perspective. It's a young girl who is also perceiving and like believing in and engaging with
El Zora is
this type of the magical
because she sits on the couch and listens to her clients because she's like, oh, if you're quiet you can probably hear everything, like and it is interesting how Moselle is kind of a unofficial, like almost therapist or counselor or confessor, for women in the community.
She's an important figure in the community.
She brings people peace. She allows people to let go.
It's almost like however much you believe in her is how much it actually is real. What's real is what you put into it, and you get what you put in.
And for somebody though who is so good at seemingly like the magic and making something happen out of almost nothing and having this gift, I don't know. I also felt like she was such a nihilist. Yeah, like talking about how life is full of goodbyes. And I don't.
In that position, when like especially if like you have some knowledge or you're aware of the artifice of what you're doing, but then how many people are dependent? I don't know. I mean, that could be that
speech that she sort of gives. I mean, she's not a speech she gives. I mean, she is standing with Eve on the porch, and they're both kind of leaning over the fence or the railing, and they're talking. Which that scene's great, just because Eve is like, you think about killing somebody? She's like, I'm going inside. Yeah, it's like, whoa, shit. But Moselle is talking about. It just feels really sad. Like she talks about, we're always finding a new thing to lose. And sometimes I think there's no point at all, except that there is no point, and most people's lives are a disappointment to them.
She doesn't have a witch doctor she can go to about her problems. No. She's just taking in everyone else's.
She's like, you're a black widow. You're a curse. She screams.
That's so sad.
Normal reaction, I think.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Extremely, extremely grounded.
So this movie had difficulty getting financing. Shocker. Also finding a director. So that's why Kasi, she made a short called Dr. Hugo, which I guess took like an element of this story. And it was just literally like to prove that she can direct.
Yeah.
Now, she does have a background in acting and a bunch of other shit. We'll talk about it more. And then, she directs. And Samuel L. Jackson read the script, came on as an actor and producer. And then I think him being attached to help, secure the financing. Here's this big name. We mentioned Diane Carroll. Most of the actors are people that Lemmons knew from her theater days because she grew up and went to this sort of NYU, but for kids who want to become professional actors, kind of summer camps. Like she was connected to some really talented people. And as I mentioned, Megan Good was originally supposed to be Eve and then kind of aged out of it. The filming began in fall of 1996 in Covington and Madisonville, Louisiana. The Batiste residence is a place called the Otis House, which is in Fairview Riverside Park. I assume that's like a place you could go visit. I'm like, oh, look at it. It was pretty. Debbie Morgan, who plays Moselle, again, the one who pulled focus, some people might know her from All My Children. She was like a big star on that show. It was on for many years, and she was also in Port Charles. So she's a bit of a daytime drama star. We learned that people don't like soap opera.
So soap opera? Yeah. But it was soap opera.
It was soap opera.
They're soap operas.
Daytime drama.
Yeah.
And she was just, I saw her interviewed and she mentioned that part of what was so exciting is she's like, you rarely are depicted a family of color and a family of sophistication simultaneously. She's like, it's just such a rare thing.
It's that kind of elevates the value of the work inherently, I think, and the value of just taking in a story like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Reviews.
Yes. I want to just say this is a well-received movie.
Yeah, people love.
That I didn't know a lot about. This was a blind spot for me. It's all the more reason I'm just like, how did I not know more about this at the time, I guess. But I will, at the time it came out, Siskel and Ebert were both
they loved
praising it. But Ebert specifically was like really raving. He was like, it was one of the best movies of the year. Mm-hmm. He praised all of I like that he acknowledged not just that it was an engaging story, but like it was really well shot. Like this is a good looking movie.
Oh yeah.
The mood, the energy, the lighting, the music. Perfect. It's well made. It's well made melodrama. Mm-hmm. It's because it is very melodramatic.
Oh yeah.
But in a committed sense, and
Yeah. Sorry, you're about to launch.
No, that's okay. I just was gonna just all the other goodies. Just that
the melodrama. There is something about being in the South and being in Louisiana and being in Bayou, Louisiana, like not just any Louisiana, like the stereotypical languidness of like that. It reminds me of when that King of the Hill episode where they go to New Orleans and Bill Dauterive reconnects with his family. Yeah, and he has an uncle there who is a dandy, and he's
Do you feel like it's got a Tennessee Williams tone?
Definitely.
It's just that sort of everything has this drawl and dramatic intensity.
The way he talks, he's just sort of, a man should know the difference between velvet and velveteen.
Right. Everything's an analogy. Yeah. Everything has a visual.
Everything is poetic. Like, how long have you been there?
We're all a river running dry.
Yeah, he's like, how long have you been standing there? He's like, 25 years.
Yeah. I'm a cat on a hot tin roof. I mean, all these, everything is so.
It's fun. It's a wonderful posture. Yeah. I like it, but it can be, it's easy to mock. I'm sorry.
Of course. Well, because it's melodramatic.
It's so distinct.
It's big. It's big. That being said, on Rotten Tomatoes, 83% critic score, 89% audience score. It's EVE'S Bayou marks a striking feature debut for director Kasi Lemmons, layering terrific performances and Southern mysticism. That's a word I wish I'd thought about earlier, into a measured meditation on disillusionment and forgiveness. That was just the little Rotten Tomatoes blurb. I don't usually read those. I just thought they did a really good job.
That's a good summation.
Encapsulating what the general consensus is. And it's just a slew of beautiful ripe tomatoes on this front page. What I wanted to acknowledge that I'm seeing both here and on Letterboxd, which are usually my go-tos, just because, they're the big current things people tend to check. A lot of praise and a lot of folks needing to really divulge and
connect.
I don't know. This is a pessimistic way of putting it, and I don't mean it necessarily in the negative sense, but there's almost like a proof of intellect, a proof of appreciation and of respect for the work, I guess. Yeah. However, there is one good meme on Letterboxd I wanted to raise. A 4-star, they liked it. Yeah. Brian, tired, American Beauty starting a movie with, in less than a year I'll be dead. Wired, EVE'S Bayou starting a movie with, the summer I killed my father, I was 10 years old. It's just like you were saying, it's a great line.
Yeah, it's strong.
More out loud, but looking at Dawn Anderson says in the Winnipeg Free Press, which is a powerful, highly atmospheric drama of family secrets. Atmospheric is a good word.
Atmospheric,
I like that.
Yep. And I do believe we saw the director's cut. In the version we saw, and I think it's a little vague in the way it's communicated, but the truth, quote unquote, of what happened that night between Louis and Cicely was witnessed by the uncle in the wheelchair, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it was he who knocked over a glass or something and then startled the whole thing. Now, I still don't think that solves it, but she was talking about how in the change up, they kind of wanted it to not be as ambiguous, or they didn't want there to be an answer or something. So anyway, they strongly encouraged her to make this change, and she's like, oh, I don't even mind, in a way, this. Of course, the director's cut is what she intended, what she turned in is the first, here it is. But yeah, I guess, she was just bringing up the fact that, I guess in the other version, that uncle, they had to cut out, and then they also had to digitally erase him from frames.
That's a lot of work, especially for that time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Anyway, so I had to mention that.
No, I think that's very important. I think I'm seeing a lot of through lines of people just, actress turned director, Kasi, she's really great first directorial debut, which is all true. Let's see.
I hear what you're saying, though.
I wanted to find which one most concisely says the stuff that I agree with. No, or just what the trend. There's a lot of overlap in terms of just respect for the quality of this work, especially as her debut as a director. It's very high quality.
Yeah.
Rosalind Bentley from the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. This is just the blurb. They gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And they said, Lemmons also does a stunning job of relaying a memory to us. She places the characters right back into the scene, playing in their mind's eye. They narrate it as they witness it, blow by blow. But as we see, things aren't always what they appear to be. I think I liked that this particular reviewer's blurb was addressing the ambiguity, and there's a certain way that it's captured visually.
Yeah, there are these
and how they're recollecting their stories, and there's some narration. It's often very physical. It feels like you're watching a play.
Yeah.
Very Tennessee Williams.
Yeah. But definitely still in the realm of film, I mean, especially with these images of the iris and the sort of flashes at the beginning with I don't know what quite I saw there,
Yeah, I think there's a lot happening. I mean, it's very
perception is
the cinematography is very engaging, and simultaneously the dialogue scenes really are just particularly
and Cicely
committed,
literally kind of coaching Eve to remember things a certain way, and then later admitting I believed you then. It's what the fuck.
There's
I was so mad.
I think it's a very specific quality. It's a complicated story.
It's very complex
that she's telling, and she does a great job doing it. That.
Yeah, there's a lot of threads, and they all
I feel it's crazy that this didn't really come up on my radar. Yeah, well, so I guess it's not that crazy. But it's also it's just interesting that for something as quality as this is, and that for having so much existing discourse on it.
I know, and I mean it's mystifying.
Very largely positive. Yeah. Again, it's 89% score. That's it's
out there.
This is.
Get on it, people.
A very nearly universally praised film,
which seldom find these days. So
I think again, if you're not making something that's just propaganda pandering, you're actually going to show complicated, nuanced characters, and you're going to show that there's there's a spectrum of morale.
Oh yeah.
That's people want to see that.
Yeah,
we're not all stupid out here. We want to be challenged.
Sometimes I want to be thoughtful while I'm munching on my popcorn.
I think it's part of what's made Tar interesting in terms of critical and audience reception, because there are different people who think it's it's this anti-cancel culture movie, or oh no, it's all about this, or it's all about. And I think the whole point is that there's an engagement in that they're putting a complicated.
It's like Patton
character,
liberals. I mean, not to generalize, but basically Democrats and Republicans both love that movie for different reasons. So I feel like Tar, it's truly an art film, though. I mean, it's a work of art.
It's a great film that I think is relating to Eve's Bayou. I think we want movies that are going to challenge us and start conversations, and
please.
And I like that kaleidoscope effect that comes from multiple perspectives, even in the film, and the characters recollecting shared memories or experiences. The idea of their trying to just capture a story where it's 100 people stared at a car accident, and they all saw 100 different versions of the same thing.
I mean, Rashomon is such a classic example of that. A story told from 3 different perspectives.
That's not how I remember it.
Exactly. Classic.
You get it.
Classic joke.
You get it.
Classic film joke. Some other movies that were in the theater. Starship Troopers, #1 at the box office, by the way. Following that was Bean. And then I Know What You Did Last Summer, Devil's Advocate, Red Corner, don't remember that one. Also some other movies that were just out and doing things. Mad City.
Just out and doing things.
Mad City, Boogie Nights, Gattaca, and Kiss the Girls.
Oh, Boogie Nights came out that year. That's
Boogie
crazy.
Nights. I think it was in the theaters a few weeks at that point. It was a pretty big hit.
I didn't realize how old that movie
1997.
was. I mean, I knew it was old, but like, that's
Oh, yeah.
old.
I just saw like a clip of Paul Thomas Anderson at like a film festival somewhere in South America. I can't remember exactly where. And he had like, he just looked like a dude teleported. I mean, it was so 90s, his look. Like he had like the round glasses. He had the mushroom haircut. He was wearing like a baggy white t-shirt. I mean, it was like, Christ. And he wasn't clearly with Maya yet. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I don't know anything about that.
Doesn't matter.
I do not know.
Doesn't matter. Briefly, I want to talk about, I keep saying it maybe incorrectly, Kasi Lemmons.
Casey, I was saying Cassie a lot,
I think I said it, though,
too. It looks...
Well, I had to. I literally looked up a video to try to hear it said, so I would get this right. So Kasi.
Should we go back and say Casey? Like we have to go back and say all the same stuff.
Just give me a clean right now. Just Kasi.
Casey.
Perfect.
Oh my God, that's so much work.
I'm not gonna do it.
Casey. Casey.
Kasi.
Yeah, do like a Siri or Alexa voice. Casey. Like that's something very computer.
Yeah.
Casey.
Kasi. I like that. That would be good. Kasi Lemmons, we're not making fun of your name. It's a lovely name.
No.
She was born, she just had her birthday. She was born February 24th, 1961 in St. Louis, Missouri, to Dorothy Othello, great name, and Milton Francis Lemmons.
That is a really cool name.
Yeah. Her mother was a counselor who eventually became a psychologist, and her father was a biology teacher. Her parents separated and divorced when she was 8, so her mother moved her and the sort of siblings up to Newton, Massachusetts, because the mother was to attend Harvard. So smart mother.
Yeah.
At 9, the mom remarried. The mom was 9, but when Kasi, did I say that? Yes, Kasi was 9. I was like, did I get that? Did I fuck that up again? When Kasi was 9, her mom got remarried. So she wasn't alone long. Kasi attended the Commonwealth School, which is a private high school in the Boston Back Bay neighborhood. I just bring it up because this place was founded by one of the Merrills, like the son of the Merrill Lynch dude, started. I feel like it's a very white institution and old, and that creates a whole other kind of tension, It's Much Master, which was like all about that. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
She spends a lot of summers in the NYU School of Drama's Circle in the Square program, which gives her access to the Lee Strasberg and Stella Adler studios. Cool. Yeah, really cool. I know. Then she goes on to attend NYU Tisch School of the Arts. And then eventually UCLA, she's like, I'm gonna do history or something. But she ends up getting, I would say, ensnared by the New School of Social Research, which had a film program.
Oh, that darn new school.
I know.
Coming out here being all new and weird.
Sneaky.
Build your own major.
Yeah.
We give you focuses. They're doing this Sarah Lawrence in the City thing.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh my God.
Oh, this girl's edgy.
Yeah.
Oh, she's all kinds of artsy.
I like her.
She's an artsy gal.
But she comes out to LA and like she starts to kind of have an acting career. I mean, she had appeared on like As the World Turns and some other things as a child. Like there was a show called You Gotta Write, which I guess was a courtroom drama. What? I love that name.
That's a fun name.
You Gotta Write.
You Gotta Write.
Oddly though, not a comedy.
Wow.
Okay. She was in
missed opportunity.
A TV movie called The 11th Victim. She was in an episode of Murder, She Wrote, The Cosby Show, ER. And then she had some films to her credit.
She's got a lot of experience.
She's got a lot of experience.
So she's very
she's well-rounded.
Very well-rounded.
Yeah. She's smart.
A lot of experiential knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some films she's appeared in were School Days, Vampire's Kiss. She's in...
Oh, shit, she's in Vampire's Kiss.
She's in Vampire's Kiss.
A, B, C, D. I just say the alphabet when that movie comes out.
She's in Silence of the Lambs.
Wait, what is she in that?
She's the only other woman in that whole... apart from the one who's at the bottom of the well. The black recruit at...
Yeah.
That's like Jodie Foster's only friend and peer. That was her.
That's crazy, dude.
That was Casey.
She's done a lot.
She was also in Candyman, Hard Target, Fear of a Black Hat, Gridlocked, and Till There Was You. But then, 1997, this is when Eve's Bayou happened.
No,
she's been writing.
This is a very important,
yes.
Not just black filmmaker, but also like just presence in the industry.
A creative presence, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, she has been raised she was given a lot of really, I think her parents gave her some really excellent opportunities to grow and develop this thing, and she did. Some other films she did after Eve's Bayou: Caveman's Valentine, which is another Samuel L. Jackson one. She did the movie Talk to Me, which was about Petey Green. She received an NAACP Image Award for that work. She also wrote or adapted the Langston Hughes play Black Nativity into a musical. And then she co-wrote Harriet and directed that as well. And for that, I just wanted to mention she received the Elaine May Award from the Philly Film Critics Circle. So I was just like, oh, okay.
That's cool. Well, she's been grinding.
Oh my God, yeah.
Very, very.
I would love to cover Harriet.
Very much big Elaine May vibes.
Oh yeah,
with her resume and accolades.
Yeah, and like getting behind the camera,
accomplishments,
and what a hell of a debut,
so on and so forth.
Like coming out,
it's a love for the craft.
It is, she seems like she
seems to have a lot of experience with higher and lower art. So it's just a lot of perspective and a lot of taste, and she's sampled a lot of ice cream flavors.
Yeah, she's an interesting woman to listen to. Her interviews were fascinating.
She's probably got a very eclectic home.
Oh yeah,
she's probably got a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, she's a cool lady. she's like really cool.
I bet her gallery wall is fire.
Her eyewear out of this world. Oh my God. Finally, I want to mention she also directed the recent biopic Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Yeah, that's super recent, y'all.
Yeah, so she's doing it. She's out. Yeah. She's here.
I mean, we could watch that.
We could.
We could.
I want to mention that she's also a mentor and educator. She's a board member of the Film Independent. She is an advisor to the Sundance Labs. She was the Vassar artist in residence in 2008. I want to be an artist in residence.
She's done so much.
Yeah. She is a moderator for AFI workshops. She's also just an assistant arts professor at NYU Tisch. Like that's her like job.
Yeah.
But she's been a guest lecturer at Yale, Columbia, MIT, UCLA, USC. I also want to mention, I found her top 10 criterion list, and I love this list so much.
Oh.
Okay, her top 10 are All About Eve, All That Jazz, Black Orpheus, Don't Look Now, Do the Right Thing, Fish Tank, The Graduate, Harold and Maude, Rosemary's Baby, and Z. I'm like, there's some really good...
That is both, like, informed but popular. Like, that's just that right balance of, I was worried it's going to be all this esoteric crap I hadn't heard of, which is, of course, it's not crap, it's Criterion. I
we always worry.
I like a lot of, they do have a good standard, but also.
This is a great list.
That's, I mean,
I'm like,
I enjoyed it. Harold and Maude, I was like,
yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, it's very rounded. Yeah. There's multiple genres and flavors.
I love
Clearly, I think a respect for something that feels a little more grounded in like human conflict.
Yeah.
Don't Look Now is a good.
Oh, I love Don't Look Now. That's such a weird one.
It's such a weird one because even though it's horror, it's all about that. It's a lot more about the grief and there's a lot of facial acting.
You're right. I don't know if this is true. I hope it isn't because it's kind of gross. But I have heard a rumor that
where they actually were having
sex.
Yeah, this isn't about Eve's Bayou anymore. We're going to talk about the sex scene and Don't Look Now.
I mean,
I think they were legit fucking.
Wow.
I don't know. It's weird. Donald Sutherland is one of those like I feel like if I had been around at that time, I would have found him attractive, but I can't now.
Don't Look Now.
But I think at that time I would have been like, oh yeah, he's the hottest guy on film.
He's disgusting.
Oh no. What are you talking about? He gave Liz Bennett to Mr. Darcy.
Okay.
He's a good father.
That's fine, but I don't want to ever see his ass. Ever. And Don't Look Now is the perfect name for that movie, given how much naked Donald Sutherland there is. I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Don't Look Now.
That is an interesting... Julie
Christie.
Why I think scenes... Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Well, back into this.
Why I feel like scenes such as I didn't get hit, and then the cheeky stuff.
Yeah.
With those films. Yeah. Especially like with Harold and Maude. I mean, that's such a dark comedy.
So dark.
Like,
love it.
Yeah.
So one just direct from Kasi on just talking about the state of the business. We have to be a little more aggressive and more overtly supportive of each other. We have to be more willing to say, I look at this picture. What's wrong with this picture? If you don't see it, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like, I don't know, there's something interesting about when you're in a collaborative situation and just kind of like looking to the left, to the right, like, do y'all not see what I see? Yeah. Like, and that like you have to vocalize that.
Yeah.
You have to.
Communication.
It's important. So,
but also like that takes a certain respect for someone else's intelligence and
to say the thing,
to say, yeah, just trusting that they're actually able to receive it.
Well, God, yeah. I mean, so many people are so hypersensitive and
I guess intelligence, but also like maturity.
Yeah, I mean, I heard somebody once, who knows what it was, but they were saying maybe instead of valuing intelligence, we should really value like thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
Like you can have a very high IQ but be kind of an asshole, right?
I think that's very true. I think I'm not a smart person, but everything that has benefited me has been to just me being willing to listen. Being able to express a criticism or share something like that to someone, that takes a certain level of I don't know, I guess I don't want to say bravery, like it's the most heroic thing in the world, but just being a good communicator it's a desired skill, as well as being especially as a collaborator, able to put your ego to the side.
Oh my God,
and
it's
accept
so
criticism, like to say, oh, this shot isn't right, or this I have a note about this, or this isn't, these things are flawed or need to be fixed or changed, and you have to put away your ego to be able to handle that, and Egos to actually put what you're working on first. You have to put the child first.
Yeah,
you're now parents.
No, exactly. And if that's how you feel, then you're like hungry and grateful for criticisms or people pointing things out.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to say all, but just.
It's a value and respect for what you're both doing.
Yeah,
what you're putting your time into.
Right. Like, let's not have this be a thing that later causes an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like where somebody's like, did nobody in the room mention this? And, I say like, oh, you have to speak up. You have to speak up, as if that's like the easiest thing.
Well,
and
sure. Easier said than done.
And I know that because there have been times where I failed to. And I regret.
It's hard when there's a power struggle too.
It's true. But
if you feel that it would endanger your position at your work or
really,
whatever.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Or your relationship.
Yeah, no, it's really difficult. And, millennials have done a pretty good job of kind of like murdering professionalism. I love it. Yeah. But we're not.
We slayed professionalism.
Yes, we did.
Ew.
But I really feel we're not totally out of the old ways yet, And I think, I say like you have to speak up because, again, I can think with like horrible cringe moments, like the times I didn't, and it's like that sucks, and I don't want to feel that way about other things. So like I'm saying it as somebody who's like failed to do it, not like I always do it.
That's the message. Victoria's saying, fellow millennials, stop being cringe.
Yeah,
that's
all. No, it's good. I mean, I work in media, so I feel like I feel more of an obligation to speak up because it's like
everything is about how it's being presented.
Exactly, and how it will be perceived. And I work with a lot of really smart people who are all over that. But every once in a while something comes up and I'm like, red flag. And fortunately, I work in a place now where that sort of thing is welcome. So that's nice.
Yeah,
not a backhanded
that's
insult
a good
to
thing.
Anybody else.
No, we don't know nothing.
Yeah, you mentioned your best supporting player is
I think the
Ross.
mother. I think because of how big and emotional and dramatic this story and the majority of the scenes are, and then you're with like a witch doctor, and there's all this music, and you have there's deaths and there's tragedy and violence and sex,
like right out the gate,
steamy. But with the mom, I think that she does a great job showing and not telling the pressure of her position and of the situation of the family, not just of reputation or just whatever posterity, but in terms of her own emotional well-being and the insecurity about how she's showing up as a mother and wife.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
It's no,
you're right.
It's complicated. It's a complicated character who is in a very morally compromised position herself about like what is her level of awareness, what is her level of responsibility here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought I felt for her.
Yeah.
I felt for her. And I felt that she was trapped in many ways.
I was very intimidated by her too, because she was so severe.
Yeah.
at times,
Yeah.
many times, especially,
Yeah.
you know, Eve is she's flying off the handle and
Yeah.
saying this or that, or, you
Yeah.
know, and she's,
He don't work every night.
she is not about
Yeah.
the sass.
No. And I think the generational, like, you know, the grandmother being like, children do not participate in discussion at the table. There's all kinds of that generational tension. And, you know, any family can have that experience. But I know Black families in particular, like, you know, getting smacked or this or that, like a little more common, you know, for some people. Not all, but, you know, I've had enough friends to know like that. Yeah, you get your ass beat sometimes.
It happened. I think, just
you know?
in other generations too. It's even.
And
I mean,
we're talking
even
about
in the '90s, you know,
this is
you know,
1962. I mean, Jesus, of course, there's going to be.
It was a revelation to my mom to maybe not spank.
Yeah.
I remember that being just sort of like a cultural shift at that point.
Yeah.
Not that I was spanked, I was, but it was fine.
No, I mean, similarly,
was
my
fine.
parents,
I'm fine.
my parents decided like we're not going to do that.
But
we're
yeah,
not-
there's
we're
sort
not-
of
we're
that-
not doing corporal punishment.
That more new agey stuff specifically, I think, came around.
New agey. You mean
I say the
not,
new agey
not
thing, but
damaging?
more of the not boomer child rearing.
Yes,
non-boomer child rearing.
I know what you're
practices.
saying. I hear you.
The ones that are more about gentility,
Yes.
talking it out,
Yes,
quiet time.
quiet. My best supporting player was Diane Carroll as Elzora because that white makeup.
Oh yeah, I mean
Come
that's a character that could get stupid fast. I think
She kept it working.
it's I think
Yeah.
the way this was not just, I mean, written and directed, and the way the story's told, it's putting the right amount of gravity onto that character, and it's not making fun of what she's doing, but there's also clearly her own self-awareness about how she's there's what Eve is participating in and engaging with, and then there's the asides.
Yeah.
So there's a good balance of that dramatic, scary mysticism and the perceived mysticism that's, and then the what's under the veneer.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yep.
Would you watch this again?
I mean, I did already,
Yeah, same.
technically,
Yeah.
just to get a better
Grasp.
understanding. There's a lot's happening.
There's a lot in it.
There's a lot in it. It's pretty. You gotta pay attention. And I'm not always the best at doing that in a first viewing. Like I get pretty easily distracted, but I do my best.
It happens.
But
We've all
especially
been
in a
there.
story like this, to best appreciate it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was rich and layered, and I thought a second viewing really gave me a stronger hold, I think, on what was working. That said, I still think there were things about it that were, at times a little melodramatic.
It's a bit much.
It's a bit much.
Like
at
I
times.
said, I think a very well made Lifetime movie, but not in a bad way.
No.
Not in a bad way, but just in the sense that there are going to be very, like, again, she suddenly thinks of the witch doctor and the all white maid. Like, there are moments that are a little, that's a little, it's so jarring. It's kind of like I can't help but giggle because I'm uncomfortable at that shift.
Yeah. There's a couple moments like that are just, yeah.
Yeah, they're it's. I don't know. We could go more into it, but we've already talked so much.
We've gone into it.
We've gone into it. But there's what's intentional about the melodrama and what just comes off like straight up campy.
I mean,
how much control?
I think this is
they have?
this is an excellent movie to watch. Like, if I could travel back in time to being like 10 and homesick, like I think this would be a good homesick movie.
Yeah.
Right.
This feels like a movie. This very much feels like a TNT.
It's like a language. It's a lying
movie.
down and watch. This.
Or
I don't know.
like, you know how TNT always played a bunch of like 90s. They always played an interview with a vampire, and then they do like teen movie weekend or whatever.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, this feels they must have. This feels very much one of those movies.
This movie might have. It's like,
or Shawshank. Shawshank got played on TV a lot. Why wasn't this one?
I don't know. Well,
where was he? Bayou?
I think we know why.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, I just mean, I do understand.
It's an all-black cast.
Yeah.
So of course it was.
Yeah.
Or not of course, but just like.
But it's being talked about. It's just this is a great example of a movie where
here we are.
It just shows you there's There's more that has happened than you might even realize.
No, as soon as I read them, like, oh, this woman wrote and directed it as her debut, and she's black. Like, I was just like, there's all these details. Oh, and she was in Silence of the Lambs. Like, I was just,
I don't always really understand or take heart in like how limited my frame of reference of media is at times.
We're all limited.
There's so much I don't know out there. Well, I already know that about music, especially. Like I really don't listen to a lot of music.
We're all very ignorant of a lot.
There's
of
so much
life,
film history and culture.
Just
recent film history and culture.
Yeah, there's a lot we're never gonna know.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. You can follow us on social media at Fresh Movie Pod or email us at abreathoffreshmovie@gmail.com. Bye.
We have stickers.
Oh, yeah. Get the stickers. And the shirts.